Welcome back in, everybody, to a Game Day Monday edition of Birds 365, joined now by Ed Kracz from SI.com. Ed, welcome to the show, man. It's Game Day Monday. How you feeling on this Monday morning, Ed Kracz?
Yeah, happy game day, guys. We got some weird starts here. Friday night, Monday night.
Yeah. We need a Sunday 1 o'clock game, Ed Kracz.
That's what we need, man.
It's coming next week, boys. It's coming next week.
It's coming. A.J. Brown, no A.J. Brown. What is that? And so late in the week, Ed, you think about it, and I was thinking about game plan day is usually Tuesday, but I'm thinking of a regular week. So this week it was probably Wednesday, and then you lose A.J. Brown on Friday. It's not good. And they rule him out, obviously. How do you think that affects the Eagles in what is a game they should win? I think Kirk Cousins isn't healthy. I think that's evident, but that's their best player, man. We both had him number one, I think, on our top 25 Eagles list.
Yeah, right. He's definitely their best player. But I would be more concerned if they didn't have Jahan Dotson. I think trading for him kind of helps, and I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing for the Eagles to learn how to play with it without A.J. Brown. We saw when they didn't have him available last year in the playoff game, this offense was just a shell of, it had already been leaking oil late last year. But even when they lost A.J. in that playoff game, it was all Devontae Smith, and there was really no one else who stepped up. So, learning to play without A.J. in week 2, I don't think is a bad thing in the long term. I think it would be more concerning, too, if this is a long-term injury. We don't know if it is or not. Nick Sirianni explained it as tightness, which to me sounds like this is just a precautionary type of a move. And you have a short week coming out of this to get ready for a New Orleans team that, has put up over 40 points the last
world beaters.
Yeah. So you're going to need points in the Superdome next Sunday. And you're going to need A.J. Brown. So I think it's just precautionary. And again, I'd be more concerned if they didn't have Dotson. They have Devontae Smith. And let's face it, Devontae Smith and Jahan Dotson are a good 1-2 punch that would probably be a 1-2 punch on a lot of other teams in the NFL. So I would be more concerned if they didn't have Dotson, and I'd be more concerned if this is a long-term injury, which I don't think it is.
Ed, how hard is this or how much does this alter Jalen Hurts' game tonight? He coming off 2 interceptions, some bad decisions. Now he loses his number one target in A.J. Brown. What's this mean for Jalen Hurts as he approaches the game tonight?
Well, I think, it's just going to have to be a mental – he's going to have to put it out of his mind, right, and look for the weapons that are there. They have a lot of weapons. Let's face it. Saquon Barkley. I think Dallas Goedert could have a big game tonight without A.J. Brown in the lineup. So I think for him, it should be just business as usual. Forget about A.J. Brown. He's not here. This is going to happen during the course of a season. You have to be mentally tough. And, I think Hurts is. But for a quarterback trying to correct what for him has become a turnover problem, like I mentioned, I think last week, he only played 3 games last year where he didn't turn the football over. So for a quarterback that has that kind of a plague on him, the turnover plague, probably not good, but he's got to be mentally tough, and I think he is.
Yeah, the turnovers are concerning to me, Ed. And it's funny because the entire offseason, I wasn't worried about it. I was like, well, it typically in 21 and 22, he didn't turn it over a lot. And I said, last year's probably an anomaly. It'll go back to what it normally is, but now it's bled into 2024. It's only 1 week, but that was a bad week as far as turnover worthy plays from the quarterback. When does it become time to say, all right, this might be a problem?
I think it is time to say it's a problem. I thought it was a problem last year, and it never got fixed. And here we are, week 2, and he's already got 2 picks. He was credited with the fumble, but that really wasn't on him. But, still, that turnover goes on his ledger. So he's got 3 turnovers already this year. The Eagles are -2 in the turnover takeaway department.
Only team to win last week with the minus turnover ratio.
Yeah, Nick told us that. 10 teams, I think, in the turnover battle and only won one with a negative number. But the Eagles were -10 last year, 6th worst in the league. And Nick even said that can't continue. It's not sustainable, and he's absolutely right. So to me, it's a problem for Jalen Hurts. Until he proves otherwise, his turnovers are a real problem, and it's concerning.
Yeah, I mean, and you lose A.J. Brown, it's certainly going to make it a little bit harder when you have a guy you can kind of throw it up to. And, a lot of times he'll come down with the ball. He's just that good of a player. So,
Yeah.
You lose A.J. tonight. He's definitely got to focus in on that and take care of the football. Ed, what's this mean for Dallas Goedert tonight? You think he has a bigger role in the passing game? When you have A.J. and Devontae, typically your tight end, is as good as he is, but he falls behind sometimes because there's two good guys in front of him. What's this mean for Dallas Goedert tonight versus the Falcons?
Yeah, I think he needs to have a bigger game. What was he targeted? I think 5 times against the Packers. I think he made 4 catches for 31 yards. He had a big play he had an explosive play and over 20 yards catch.
Terrible.
Not terrible, right? But listen, you take away a threat like A.J. Brown who can score from anywhere on the field. We saw the 67-yard touchdown catch and run against the Packers. It's going to leave a mark, but I think Dallas Goedert should have more of an emphasis tonight with his targets. I don't know who's going to cover him on that Atlanta defense. I know they're very good on the outside with A.J. Terrell, and their safeties are real good. So it might be a Justin Simmons or Jesse Bates who covers Goddard. But he should see an increase in targets. And who else might also see an increase in targets is Saquon Barkley out of the backfield.
Saquon. It's a Saquon day. It's got to be a Saquon day, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, listen, they have weapons. I mean, everybody's caught. I mean, I'm not that concerned that they don't have A.J. Brown. I think, like I said, it's a good thing for them to learn how to play without their top receiver.
I'm never going to get to that point, Ed, where I'm not concerned about losing A.J. Brown. I mean, there's 3 players on this team where I think it dramatically affects them not to have, and maybe 4. Jalen Hurts obviously is the quarterback. And Lane Johnson, we've seen it with AJ. They're not the same team when AJ's not out there. You go back to 21 when they didn't have him, they were okay. But when he got here, you saw the difference. And when he got hurt, you saw the difference again. And then maybe Jalen Carter on defense, but I don't know if he's gotten to that stage yet. But those are the 3 guys that I'm like, all right, you got to play differently if they're not out there, and one of them's not out there. And I like your silver lining, your spin on it. But to me, this all of a sudden, and this is a problem. As I said, Wednesday, the Eagles game plan for this game with A.J. Brown. And now all of a sudden, Kellen Moore's got to scrap that and go in a different direction late in the week. And to me, it's got to be an A.J. Brown game plan. A Saquon Barkley game plan. That's the guy to me. That's the guy I'm starting with. And everything plays off Saquon Barkley, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think it affects the way you have to play, not having A.J. Brown.
Maybe. I mean, I think if you lost Lane, I mean, the drop-off between Lane and Fred Johnson is huge. The drop-off after Jalen Carter, you're already thin at D tackle. So, they're important, and you never want to lose your quarterback. But I don't think it's that big of a drop-off between A.J. and
my Lord.
Boy, Devontae Smith is you say it's going to run through Saquon Barkley. I think Devontae Smith is going to
No, I wasn't saying. To me, it's the drop off from AJ. I thought you were going down the Jahan Dotson route.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Seem to be. No, Devontae's very good.
I mean, that's what
I said to John in the open. I said, I feel good about Devontae being a wide receiver 1. Now, I don't feel as good about Dotson being a 2, Goddard being the second. Those are where my questions come. I'm not as concerned with Devontae having to step up and be a 1. I think he's more than capable of doing it.
Yeah, I'm just not as worried. I just think they have the weapons, for Jalen Hurts to be successful. And if they're not successful, then you got a problem. I mean, they upgraded at receiver with Dotson. He needs to step up. I mean, he played 32 snaps against the Packers, which on one hand was good. It showed that he had kind of come in and mastered a pretty good piece of the playbook on, a week and a half's notice. But the bad is he was only targeted one time. Now he's going to get his share of targets tonight. He certainly, when he got those opportunities in Washington, seemed to make the most of them, more or less. I mean, he struggled at points, but tonight's going to be one of those games where I think Dotson's going to play a big hand. Smith's going to play a big hand. We still don't know about Johnny Wilson, right? He's still listed as questionable.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, he's listed as questionable. He's got a hamstring as well. It was interesting because he was out there on
Saturday.
I forget what day. Saturday. Thank you. Saturday. He was out there and he was talking to, and I even took a picture of it because it was so noticeable. Like Aaron Moorhead was spending a lot of time during the stretching drill with Johnny Wilson. And I thought to myself at the time, I'm like, I didn't think it was a good sign for AJ, and thinking, well, they're trying to get Johnny Wilson up to speed. He's spending some extra time. Turns out he was hurt too. And he's trying to figure out if he could practice. And he wasn't able to practice. So yeah, I wouldn't count on Johnny Wilson either, but we'll see how that shakes out. I'm not sure how much you should have counted on him anyway. He's a rookie. But and that brings us to the roster conundrum. To me, you got to have Nick Gates up from the practice squad because he's your backup center. And that was the Eagles' plan when they sort of finagled it. You got to have BJ Jenkins because you only have 2 tight ends on the 53. But now you need Paris Campbell. So how do you finagle that, Ed Kracz? I need those 3 players up. How do you finagle that?
Yeah. Well, you would probably need to make a move on the 53-man roster if you want to add somebody. And then who are the candidates to get cut? We talked a little bit about this yesterday, John. I mean, you're looking at, maybe Darian Kennard could be released, but I don't know why you would do that because you kept him over Gates to begin with. And there's some teams out there that would probably snatch up a player like Darian Kennard. Then you look at guys like Warren Burks, the linebacker. He kind of has a special teams role, but after the emergence of Zach Bond and Kobe Dean, you still have Devin White. Maybe it's Burks.
Devin White.
Or maybe it's Devin White. I mean, they've talked though all week about how they're going to need him. So to turn around and then cut him,
might be a 50-50 thing. Like Devin might go to them and go, "Oh, this ain't working out," and they might say, "You're right." I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll play the odds like they did with Christian Ellis, and they lost Christian Ellis. They might lose Darian Kennard, but I think they just swap out Gates for Kennard.
Well, here's another
get him back on the practice squad.
Yeah, I don't know if they would. I mean, Stoutland's offensive linemen are pretty popular. He already lost Dylan McMahon. I'm not sure they would do it with an O lineman. Eli Ricks. I mean, what's his role in this team? He played 3 special teams snaps.
Howie loves him. That's his role.
Yeah, Howie loves him. And he would probably get grabbed up too because a lot of teams like Eli Ricks. So it's tough. But if you don't make a move on the 53 and you can only elevate 2 guys and one of them has to be Campbell, maybe they don't elevate Nick Gates. And if there's something were to happen in game to Cam Jurgens, maybe you move Landon Dickerson over to center and you put Tyler Steen in at Dickerson's spot. Now, I'm not saying that's a long-term answer. Obviously, you'd have to, revisit that if that were to happen during the week leading into New Orleans. But in game, it could be a realistic possibility. And so you don't elevate Gates, you elevate Jenkins and Paris Campbell.
Yeah, as an immediate solution, I think that makes some sense.
I think the problem is the Eagles kind of promised Nick Gates, like that's part of his deal, that he's going to get elevated, similar to what they did with Britton Covey. Now, you could always go back on it, but that doesn't seem like an Eagles thing to do. They typically, I don't think they do that. You never say never. I mean, you're right. Landon Dickerson can do it. We know Jeff Stoutland doesn't necessarily like moving parts. He doesn't want to affect 2 positions. And the hope is that Cam Jurgens plays the whole game, obviously. Right. So,
yep.
But to me, you have to have Paris Campbell up for this game. You have to. Is there any way they go into this game? Even if Johnny Wilson can play, I still want Paris Campbell.
Yeah, because then you have 4 receivers, and one of them's a rookie who doesn't have a catch in the NFL, and Britton Covey, he hasn't exactly proven himself as an offensive weapon either, so you're really reduced to 2 receivers. At least Paris Campbell is a veteran. He's got a good resume in the league. He's a guy you can throw to. So, yeah, I don't see how you cannot elevate Paris Campbell. And then if you lose Wilson, then you only have 4 receivers if you elevate Campbell. I mean, could they possibly even elevate a second receiver like Marcus Rosemary St. Jack or whatever? I don't know how you say it. Jack Saint. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name.
Yeah,
Jack
Rosemary Jack Saint. Yeah.
I don't know.
A great name. It
is
a great name.
Guys, what about Devin White? I mean, he's taking up a roster spot.
Oh yeah, I mentioned Devin.
Rosters. You think he's just going to sit here all year as a backup, or could he be on the outs?
Well, he could be on the outs. Yeah, I mean, but listen, nobody was beating down his door right in the offseason to sign him. So if he were to request a release, it's not like he's coming out and he's going to be overwhelmed with offers from other teams. He didn't have them in the offseason. So
he was a former All-Pro, Ed.
Well, yeah, but it behooves him to just be the good soldier, so to speak, and play the role that the Eagles have carved out for him, which right now,
and he has taken he's been a true pro, taking it.
He has,
but obviously he's disappointed. But he has handled it better than I think most people would expect people to handle it. So from that standpoint, the Eagles, he's here. So they would say the same thing about James Bradbury when he was in the mix and he's now on injured reserve. Well, we might need him. Yeah, but he doesn't have a role, as Zander points out. I mean, Oren Burks plays special teams. Ben Van Sumeren, great special teams player. He doesn't play special teams. So
could be maybe you can get him to the practice squad too if you cut him. If there's no teams interested that would claim him, but that'd be a big gamble. And then if you do lose Devin White, what do you have backing up Nakobe Dean if he all of a sudden gets another injury or even?
You got Ben Van Sumeren, you got Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yeah. I kind of go back to what John's been saying all off season, where you got a bunch of good backups. So it's like,
I'm not concerned about the backups.
Yeah. There's not that much of a drop off maybe between Devin and then if you elevate Trotter or Ben Van Sumeren or somebody like that.
Yeah. I'm not as in love with that as John might be.
How about I'm not in love with it. I just typically when we talk about Eagles linebackers, I think it's been much better thanks to Zach Bond, who turned into Ray Lewis for at least a week, and we'll see if that can continue. I don't think it will, but we'll see. But I think Zach's going to be better than people expected. Nakobe, I think, is going to have a good year.
If he stays healthy. I mean, you can say that.
Stays healthy,
but he's got that history. Yeah,
but he's a good player. Nakobe's a good player. He just needs a chance to prove it. Maybe you will get it. Maybe you'll get hurt again, and you'll need it. But I do like the upside of Ben Van Sumeren. I like the upside of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And I like the upside of Cooper DeJean. Is this the week where Vic Fangio throws Cooper DeJean into the deep end of the pool and says, you know what? It's Bijan Robinson. I need somebody who can run blitz in the slot. Let's roll with Cooper DeJean.
Well, I think it is going to be the week where they throw him out there. And Nick Sirianni even said, I think on Saturday or Thursday, whenever he was asked about, I think it was Saturday, he said that he strung together some good practices, in a row, which to me is an indicator that, he's going to get put out there. And you mentioned the run blitzes. Bijan Robinson is probably this defense's biggest concern is getting bodies to the ball and getting him to the ground. I mean, Bijan's very dangerous in both the running and the receiving game. So, some run blitzes would be in order, you would think, to try to get Bijan Robinson stopped before he can get going. And then you have to cover Kyle Pitts. Who's going to do that? Which one of these linebackers, or can Cooper DeJean do it, or Avonte Maddox, can they cover Kyle Pitts? Can Chauncey Gardner do it? I mean, that's a tall order. That 1-2 punch on the ground and in the air. The Eagles got to figure it out, and maybe Cooper DeJean gives them another, weapon, whatever you want to call it, in trying to make that happen, stopping Bijan and Pitts.
Yeah, it is a difficult matchup on paper. If Kirk Cousins is healthy, and he did not look healthy, so I'm not sure. Drake London's a difficult matchup.
Yes.
And we see this all the time. A couple years ago, remember that opener in Detroit? It was where AJ caught like a bunch of passes and Devontae didn't catch any, and everybody was like, "What's going on? Why isn't Devontae involved?" And then the next week, you had the overcorrection, and they went. I think on the first play of the game, the first two plays, they threw it to Devontae. I saw it in Arizona. They couldn't get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. the first week. All of a sudden, they overcorrect. They're getting him the ball. Drake London, they couldn't get him the ball last week. Big 6'4" receiver, contested catch guy. Little bit of a Mike Evans vibe to him. Do they try to overcorrect and get the ball to Drake London today?
Yeah, it's a good point. They might, and who's matching up with him? Slay probably. But, you have the rookie Quinyon, who I would assume is going to start on the outside over Isaiah Rodgers, especially because,
especially because Drake London's out there. You
Right.
don't want Isaiah against the
Yeah.
6'4" guy.
No. So, it's not like Quinyon Mitchell's some 6'4" guy either. He's 6'1", Slay's 6'1". I mean, these guys aren't 6'4", but Slay's a veteran, knows how to play. So he probably draws the matchup, maybe travels with Drake London. But listen, this is a dangerous game for the Eagles. I know Kirk Cousins is hurt and everything, but they're coming in with a real sense of urgency. Look at the NFC South now. You have the Bucks at 2-0, the Saints at 2-0. The Falcons were a trendy pick to win that division, and if they were to lose, they're 0-2, and they're already 2 games off the pace. So they're coming in with a real sense of urgency, and I think this is going to be a closer game than a lot of people expect it to be. You mentioned those 3 weapons, John, on the offense, and now you got the defense with Grady Jarrett, who's going to be a handful for that interior line. Big test for Becton and Juergens. You have the 2 safeties. Obviously, you have Matt Judon on the outside.
Yeah, they have some good players, man.
They do have some good players. So, they laid an egg in their home opener. I mean, they're going to come out pretty fired up here, and the Eagles are going to have to kind of blunt that momentum and that urgency they're going to have coming out of the, out of the tunnel, and find a way to kind of play this out over 60 minutes and not let the Falcons get too far ahead, maybe get a lead on them and force them into making mistakes.
And by the way, you say they laid an egg. They did offensively. They didn't defensively. Now,
I don't give the Steelers a lot of credit.
Well, I was going to say it's hard to lay an egg against Justin Fields, but
they scored 13 points well against the Broncos. I mean, come on, that offense. What they have 1 touchdown this year?
Yeah, and they're 2-0, by the way. Yeah, because it's Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin just finds ways to win football games, but it's an interesting matchup for me, and perhaps only me, because I had to go through this all off season. Justin Simmons is coming in. God forbid he makes a play. Eagles have a better safety in Reed Blankenship than Justin Simmons. Or would Ed Kracz rather have Justin Simmons?
That's a tough call. I like the way Reed plays. I like how aggressive he is. He's younger. He's got younger legs. The guy never sweats. I mean, we talked to him after practice, and he's cool as a cucumber, this kid. Yeah. I would probably say Reed Blankenship.
Right now. I don't mean Reed was better than Justin Simmons in Justin Simmons' prime.
Right.
But right now, he's a better football player.
Yeah, I would agree. I would take Reed Blankenship. But, Simmons, he still makes plays.
Still solid.
Yes.
But I think Reed's really good. For whatever reason, not for obviously because he was undrafted. People don't believe in him. He keeps making plays, man. He was great against Green Bay. That interception was pretty special. He got some help from the great Zach Bond, but that interception was impressive.
Listen, this guy was leading the Pro Bowl balloting at safety halfway through the year last year, and that's voted on by the players. So, he's respected across the league. I mean, he was leading And then
he's milkshake. He's got a picture of milk now up in his locker.
yeah, he's a good dude. But he is appreciated. Fans might not think he's all that because he was an undrafted free agent out of Middle Tennessee State. But he's a player, he's highly regarded across the league, or he wouldn't have been leading the Pro Bowl balloting. Now, he had some injuries last year that kind of, he had some ribs and some other things that kind of dinged him a little bit and maybe took away some of his effectiveness in the second half of the year. But when he's healthy, man, that guy flies around, ball hawk. He can tackle. I like Reed a lot. He's going to have to play another big hand in this game tonight.
Ed, I'm going to set the over-under at 0.5 for Bryce Huff sacks tonight.
+5.
Over or under? Half a sack. So if he gets a sack, he wins.
I'm going to give him an over. I'm going to give Huff an over on that.
Do you think he gets on the board tonight?
I think he does. I think he better get on the board. Fans are going to start booing the poor guy. But he's another guy that's an accountable guy. He was in the locker room all week long, and hopefully if he continues on this snide of not getting a sack, that continues. But I think he'll get one, Zander. I would take the over on the 0.5 sacks for Bryce Huff tonight.
By the way, as an aside on Bryce Huff, and I think he's going to be fine. I'm going over there too, Zander. I've said it pretty consistently. This is one of the positives of having Vic Fangio, because everybody's like, Ed, you got to play. Oh, he's got to play. He's got to be a 3-down player because he makes $51 million. And Vic's like, I don't give a shit what he makes. Brandon's a better run defender. I'll use Brandon on rundowns, and I'll use him to chase the passer. And if he gets 10+ sacks, everybody's going to be happy because he's getting the quarterback.
Yeah.
But if you're like Sean Desai, you would crumble to those expectations, say, he's got to be on the field. Vic's like, no, he doesn't. I love that. I love that about Vic. Vic's like, I'll play who I want. Yeah. Sorry, Howie.
Yeah. And Vic loves Brandon Graham, so he's going to have a role for Brandon. Brandon played 32 snaps, which was more than Huff. He played a lot on first down. Obviously, Huff isn't that 3-down lineman yet. They're trying to make him into, but he needs to make an impact, and that impact has to come with getting the quarterback on the ground or getting him, pressure, move him off his spot, force a bad throw. That's where he has to make his impact, especially here early in the season when he's still trying to figure out how to be a 3-down player.
At Kracz E, make sure you follow Ed on the X platform throughout the game. He'll be giving you good stuff there. You can read him, si.com/NFL/Eagles. You can even read me while you're there reading Ed. And we'll both be at the game tonight. So we'll end it there. Who's going to win the game? Ed Kratz's prediction.
Yeah, with Nick Foles in the house, I mean, come on. One of my bold predictions is we're going to see a Philly play at some point tonight. I think that, they
ran it at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Gave you a great answer on that.
And he even said something about it at the presser this week.
Yeah, Ed asked the question. Yeah. And he got the answer.
That planted the seed for me. And then they did it in the opener in 2018. They ran the Philly. It wasn't in a goal line situation, but it was a 3rd and 5. They picked up 15, 20 yards on it. I mean, we could see it. That would be fun.
Yeah. What was the answer? I believe his answer was, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Well, he said too that he said, hey, you guys want to see something Monday? It sounds like you want to see something.
Yeah,
Monday.
He did say that. Yeah.
So with Nick Foles in the house, I think the Eagles will win. Not that Nick Foles is going to play, but he certainly
might. He might.
You never know. But I think the Eagles. Yeah, he was amazing, Nick Foles. That was an amazing game that he played in the Super Bowl. And it's he's talking tonight to us at I think 6:00. So
if we can all get in this room with the big, I don't want to go down easy, low hanging fruits.
But you asked me who's going to win. I think the Eagles will find a way. I had it initially 27-20 Eagles, but I think this game might be a little closer. I think does BetUS have it at 5.5? Is that kind of the line?
I think it was 6.5. I'm not sure if it changed since AJ went down, but it
should have changed. Come on, get on that. I don't know if it did, but it should have changed.
I don't know if I would take the points in this. I think that the Eagles will find a way to win, but I think it could be by a field goal type of game or 4 points, something like that. But I think the Eagles over 60 minutes should be able to win this game. I think their roster's better. I think they're better equipped to win right now than the Falcons might be, with Kirk Cousins hobbling a little bit. So I like the Eagles to get to 2-0 and head down to New Orleans for a big matchup of two undefeated teams.
Yeah, that's looking a lot bigger than maybe we all expected early in the season.
Yes.
New Orleans has looked very, very good, but we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Ed Kracz at Kratzy on the X platform.
Ed, thanks for joining the show, man. Great stuff. As always, enjoy the game tonight. We'll be reading all your work. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, brother?
All right. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the game.
Thanks,
bud.
bud.
Ed Kracz joining us on Birds 365. Great stuff from Ed Kracz. Just 5 minutes left to go here on the show. Before we get you our predictions, Johnny Mac and I, John, people have been waiting for the predictions all week, last week, and then you don't give them on Friday when you have a Monday game. So we have our predictions.
That's good because it changed.
Yeah, definitely changed. So we'll do that. Before I do that, I want to tell you guys about BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. I did just look, John. They've updated the odds. It's -5.5. The Eagles are a 5.5 point favorite tonight after AJ goes down. It dropped a full point. So go to betus.com.pa to bet on the game. They have launched a new promotion for our YouTube fans. It's now, I put the scroll on the bottom, as you can see. Go to betus.com.pa and use the code YouTube150. And what that gets you is 150% sign-up bonus on your deposits up to $2,000. So you can deposit less and earn more. BetUS has the fastest payouts in the industry, and they have 24/7 customer support, as well as your own personal account manager. So if you need help taking your Saquon Barkley prop bets, their account manager will help you do that. So go to betus.com.pa and use the code YouTube150 for 150% sign-up bonus. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring the full 2-hour show today. Johnny Mac, it's prediction time, brother. We got 4 minutes left. AJ Brown goes down. Some variables have changed going into the game. What is your prediction for the game today? I see one in the chat that's very close to mine. I have my prediction locked and loaded. Johnny Mac, you go first. What's your prediction tonight?
I do, I think Kirk Cousins is struggling a little bit too much for me to believe it's going to get better a week later, a little bit over a week later, but physically. And you have the history of him in general in primetime games, Monday Night, but which is not all his fault, to put it bluntly, but he tends to be willing to take some chances throwing the football down the field. Slay's got 3 interceptions, I think, against them career-wise. I think he'll turn it over a couple times, and maybe that turnover ratio gets a little bit more even. I think the Eagles find a way to win the game. A little bit more difficult than what I had originally projected without A.J. Brown. So I have the Eagles winning more in the 27-23 range.
That's pretty good. Pretty good prediction there from Johnny Mac. He has the Eagles winning 27-23. I know Ed had the Eagles winning, John. What was his exact score?
I have to look it up. I think he put it up on. I don't think he gave it to us.
Yeah.
I think he did. He? I don't know.
No, I don't think he did. That's why I asked you. I don't know. I wasn't sure if I missed it, but somebody in the chat has officially put in my exact prediction. And someone actually put yours in too. Claude Hunt. Shout out to Claude Hunt, who had the same prediction as you. John, my prediction for the game tonight is 28-17 Eagles. Spanish PLY got mine. Good prediction, Spanish. You and me both. I think the Eagles get a little bit less than 30 points tonight because you lose A.J. Brown. I think their offense takes a small step back, but I just don't think that Kirk Cousins offense is ready to go full steam. I think that defensive line gets some pressure tonight, conversely, as they did in week 1 on that tough field at Corinthians Arena. They're back at the link. It's Nick Foles. I think it's 28-17 tonight. The Eagles win.
Ed's, by the way, was 27-20, so he's right in my range. I had 27-23.
Yeah, 27-23. So Claude matched you in the chat. We had a couple people match us in the chat. Some good ones.
I will guarantee one thing: Nick Foles will have nothing to do with the outcome.
I agree with that. Dominique Dabney puts 44-17. Holy Brent Macklin, my boy. We are not putting up 44 without AJ. Amber puts up 24-13. Takeem 48-16. Come on, Takeem, that's crazy, my man. If they do that, shoot, fire your Super
Well,
Bowl tickets.
yeah. By the way, I thought
35-14. We had a couple pick the Falcons. Eagles fan puts in 28-20. I think we lose to the Falcons tonight. 31-17 is a good one. And then there's Claude, who matched you a couple minutes before you said it, 27-23.
48
Good
to
predictions.
what? Who had 48? 40. Oh,
Takeem. We had a couple guys in the 40s. We had Takeem Hilton, who had 48. And then we had Dominic Dabney, who had 44.
I think Jeff Kerr got to Ed Kracz on Jahan Dotson. It's like, what has Jahan Dotson ever done that you're not worried about that drop off?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I evidently
a lot of low scoring. I'll tell you what, though, there was a lot of low scoring games in the NFL yesterday.
Oh yeah, deep. Well,
which kind of made me wonder, like, am I giving too many points here? Which is why I put the Falcons down at 17. I just don't think they're ready to score a lot with Kirk being so immobile.
Well, no, you see, it's starting on Thursday night. It's all about quarterback play. The Dolphins lose Tua, and you got Skylar Thompson out there. Carolina, we talked about the Bryce Young struggles. Indianapolis, it's Anthony Richardson against Malik Willis. It's Cleveland with and they managed to win the game, but we know how much Deshaun Watson has been struggling. The Patriots are rolling Jacoby Brissett out there. The Titans, I don't know if anyone has saw Will Levis play yet, but it ain't good. Giants, Daniel Jones, we know. Commanders, rookie. Rams, struggling from an offensive line perspective. That's not quarterback. Bo Nix, I mean, come on. And then Caleb Williams. It's quarterback play. Quarterback play has been absolutely egregious to the point we're going, all right, Derek Carr and Sam Darnold. That's pretty good. The Saints and Vikings are in good shape because they have Derek Carr and Sam Darnold. That's where we are.
It's been tough. I will say Darnold looked pretty good, and you kind of said you thought he might have a little bit more of a surprising year than people expected. So credit to you, Johnny Mac. Great show today. Great stuff from Ed Kracz, who joined the show. No AJ Brown tonight, everybody. So let's see what this team looks like without their star wide receiver one. I think they're well equipped. I think it's a Saquon Barkley night tonight. I will say that. I think we'll be giving away a jersey again this week.
Saquon.
Yeah, we'll see what he's able to do. John, I was a little surprised you didn't push back on Ed, who said he's going to who's going to make some waves in the passing game.
Well, I'm tired of it. I mean, if people, and I loved Ed to death, but I mean, I think they're talking about impact. And last week you saw the impact because you saw the wheel route and the touchdown. So everybody's excited. Everybody's satiated. But he was targeted twice.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all
maybe
I'm talking.
Maybe it's 4 or 5 times tonight without AJ.
Oh, I think it will be more.
Yeah.
But again, that's dependent on, in other words, they're not calling plays. They might call 2 plays for him in the game. They're not calling a bunch of pass plays for Saquon Barkley. It's just not how it works.
John, I got one more over.
With the exception of one guy who doesn't play, who isn't playing right now.
John, I got one more over under for you on the way out. I gave you the half a sack for Bryce Huff. You took the over. So you said you think Bryce Huff gets on the board. So did Ed Kracz tonight. I'm going to take the over on that as well. I think it's a Bryce. I think Bryce Huff has to show up.
Yeah, tonight. I would have went 1.5 with Bryce Huff because
I don't want to guarantee.
No,
he hasn't done anything yet, John. I can't give him.
I don't care. He's done a lot in the NFL. People just don't know it. I'm going to guarantee. I'm not even going to take the over. I'm going to guarantee Bryce Huff is going over a half sack.
Okay, I like it. All right, here's the next over under on the way out. Half an interception for Jalen Hurts. Over or under?
Oh, over. Until he proves otherwise. I mean, I got to see it. I mean, last week was abysmal, and I keep saying it, and people get angry at me. It could have been 4. It should have been 3. It flat out should have been, because I think AJ made a nice play. To break up the one Jair should have been Alexander interception. He turned into defensive back. Yeah, I mean,
I'll take the under. I'm going to take the under. I think Jalen Hurts overcorrects. I think he cleans it up tonight. And I think he's aware of that secondary that the Falcons have. They do have a good secondary, but two great
And that's the
safeties.
thing. But you got Jesse Bates,
Yep.
you got Justin Simmons, you got AJ Terrell.
Yep,
on
you got
top
three
of it.
great players in that secondary, but I think Hurts understands what he has to do, and I think he corrects it. I think he goes under a half an interception tonight and plays clean operation, turnover-free football. That's going to be my
And by the
prediction.
way, going over is not the worst thing in the world. Like if he throws one
watch
pick,
the NFL yesterday. How many quarterbacks threw interceptions yesterday?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
if he throws one pick and it's Jesse Bates making a great play, I don't care about that. But I'm just playing the odds here. The odds say he's going to put the ball in peril at least a couple of times. And these are with playmakers. Now, Green Bay had a big time playmaker as well in Jair Alexander. They have three guys who can intercept the football. And Jesse Bates I'd stay away from the middle of the field today.
Yeah, you're right. They got some good players in there. So we'll see how the game plays out. I want to thank Tyler Elliott for becoming a member. Shout out to you, Tyler. You're entered into the Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway that hopefully we'll be doing this week if he eclipses that 125-yard mark, both receiving and rushing yards. So I think Saquon will get it. So thanks for becoming a member and for your support. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We will talk to you tonight on the pregame show. Make sure everybody's tuned in on the pregame show tonight, 7 to 8 p.m. We'll get Johnny Mac in for a segment. He will be live from Lincoln Financial Field, and then Cilio and I will be holding down the rest of the show. So great stuff there. Johnny Mac, good show today, man. We'll talk to you tonight on the pre- and post-game show.
All right, sounds good. I'd say enjoy the game, but we'll talk before that, everybody.
Yes, sir. All right, good stuff, Johnny Mac.
Thanks,
everybody. We'll catch you tonight on this afternoon in the National Football Show, and then the pregame show, 7 to 8 p.m., and then the postgame show live right after the game. So thanks, everybody, for being here today. See you next time on JAKIB Sports.